Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Wisdom Wednesday for this week. So remember, with our Wisdom Wednesday, this is just a generalized spiritual discussion that's based on the energies that we're working with for this week. So with our discussion, we'll just be kind of going over the topic. And of course, if questions, comments, or concerns come up about the topic, you're always free to put those in the comments. And if I don't answer you when we're live, I will do my best to go back and answer you on the replay, so forth and so on. And then you can also catch this replay on my YouTube channel, which I've posted. And you can of course go visit my website where I have different blogs and vlogs on different subjects that you can also go visit, and my website is also in the description of the video. So for this week, we're going to be talking about the power of focus, which I don't think we really give enough credence to, because we don't really think about our focus. And the reason we don't think about our focus is because we haven't really defined what focus is. Like, school tells us kind of like, focus on this, focus on that. Hey, Karen, thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. But we never really get like, what is focus? So before we jump into any part of this discussion for tonight, I want to define at least my definition of focus. And all focus is where you place your awareness. That's how I like to look at focus. It is where you are placing your awareness. Hey, Shirley, thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. So that's all that focus really is. Where you're placing your awareness, where you're placing your consciousness. And we can place it really on anything, or we can place it anywhere or any when. Because our focus, we can focus on the past, we can focus on the future, we can focus on a piece of paper, we can focus really anywhere. We can focus on a particular thought, we can focus on a particular feeling. Like, our focus can go so many different places. So like I said, all our focus is where we are placing our awareness, where we are placing our conscious attention. So now that we've kind of defined focus, let's take a look at what do we kind of do with our focus? Well, if we're really honest, what we do with our focus, and like the Course says, we are far too apt to let our minds wander. And that's what we do. Our minds are meandering around. Our awareness, if you will, kind of jumps from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And what our awareness is most drawn to, which it seems kind of crazy, like, why is my awareness drawn? Our awareness is really drawn in to a good majority of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, but into like the drama, into the problem. Now, why is our attention, why is our focus so focused there? Well, it's because this part of our mind, now, once again, we're going to define this part of our mind, which is the ego mind. Now, the ego is not good. The ego is not bad. The ego, it has no power. All the ego is the idea that you could be separate from Source's will for your happiness, for your freedom, for your joy, for anything. So that's all that the ego is. It is the idea of separation, nothing more. And this idea needs your focus, needs your attention, needs your awareness on it in order for it to continue to survive, quote unquote, because it's not really alive, it's just there. And so it needs our conscious awareness, it needs our conscious focus. And so it's going to use everything because it knows you, because it is a part of you. You made it. Now, that's another key word there. You made it. It was not created like you. You were created in the image and likeness of your Creator, whole, pure, perfect, protected, provided for in all ways, free to forgive and free to save the world. That is how you were created. We made the ego, which means if something can be made, it can be unmade. But see, here is the whole key with that, is even though it can be made, we still go into it. We still wander down these darkened corridors of our mind. And the only reason that they're dark is because it's just some stuff that we've pushed out of our awareness, out of our focus. And we've said, oh, you know what? I'll deal with this later, or I can't deal with this right now, or I'm not going to look at this. And that's really what the ego brings up. And it brings it up and says, this is going to get your attention. This is how I'm going to get you to come back and focus on me. Because once the ego starts to feel threatened because you are focusing on love, joy, happiness, gratitude, appreciation, whatever the case may be, whatever you are focusing on, that's not the ego, which is depression, depravity, lack, scarcity, so forth and so on, then that's when the ego goes from suspicious to vicious. And it just starts throwing all these projections. And that's all that it is. It is a projection. It is not reality. It's only a projection. So it just kind of throws out these witnesses and says, hey, look over there. There's lack. And if it gets your attention, it's like, okay, great. Got their attention. Now they're back on me. Good, good, good. And that's what it loves, because it needs your focus. It needs your attention in order to facilitate its false facsimile that it is alive or that it has power. And that's all that it's doing. So how can we really tell when we're focused on spirit and when we're focused on the ego? Well, we can definitely tell that by the way that we're feeling. And this is something that gets overlooked time and time and time again. Our emotions are our guideposts, and they are merely illustrating where our focus is, or who we are focusing with, if you will. Either we're focusing with the ego or we're focusing with spirit. Those are the only two options that we have. Now, if you are just sitting there right here, right now, and you're just like, well, I don't really know what I'm focusing on. Okay, well, how are you feeling? Well, if you're feeling good, you're feeling energetic, you're feeling happy, excited, peaceful, joyful, whatever way, then you know you're focusing on spirit. But if you're feeling sad, depressed, anxious, worried, or even apathetic, like I'm not really feeling anything, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling bad, I'm not really feeling anything. Even that, as much as it sounds like a super big contradiction, or it's like, oh, what? That is even when you're focusing with the ego, because when we focus on peace, like when we're focused and placing our attention on peace, we have this overwhelming feeling that all is well. Like you just feel so at peace. You're like, everything's fine. I don't know how everything's fine. I don't know how everything's going to work out, but it's all good. That's how we know where we're focusing, by the way that we're feeling in that moment. And if we're not feeling happy, joyful, peaceful, all of those wonderful things, that's okay. It's not a punishment, and it's not to beat yourself up, because, I was a really big proponent of beating myself up if I wasn't feeling, happy and joyful. Again, our emotions are only illustrating where our focus is. That's it. It's just like, okay, you're focusing over here. If you don't like it, you can shift your focus. You can shift your perception. You can shift from ego identification to spirit identification. And it really is just as easy as a shift in mind. But again, it's like you're walking down these darkened corridors, and yes, we can choose to change that. You are absolutely correct. But see, here's where the ego comes back, and it starts knocking on the door, and it starts being like, hey, come pay attention to me. And it starts, kind of throwing a little bit of a temper tantrum, wanting us to focus and saying, no, you got to stay stuck here. You're stuck. You can't move. But once again, it's as easy as saying, okay, let's say that perhaps, and this was a great example, I was having a conversation with a friend earlier, and they were telling me about the gas prices. And they were like, oh my God, these gas prices, Ron. And then this person was like, I was watching the news, and the gas company or the oil companies did this, which is really going to hit us. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Granted, all of those things are true in your perception, like true in what you are viewing. But can you change your focus? And, this person was like, well, yeah, I can change my focus. I said, great, wonderful. So what can we change our focus to? How can we start heading in a direction where we feel less lack and we feel more abundant? How can we do that? And so we started just talking about it. I said, well, isn't it wonderful that you could be so happy and grateful that you have the money to put in your vehicle so that you can get from everywhere that you need to go? And isn't it wonderful that even though you're putting gas in your car, you are an abundant being of the universe, so which means you're always provided for. So just because you're putting however much in there, you are still going to have money left over. You're still going to have extra money. And they were like, well, yeah. And I said, isn't it great that, you're able to get this and go here and so forth and so on? They were like, yeah. And then they looked at the price and they were like, what just happened? And I said, and of course we're just on the phone. And I said, well, what do you mean? And this person goes, this is really strange, but the price, I swore, was, somewhere upwards of like $6. And then they were like, well, according to this, I only paid $5.80. And I said, well, look at that. I said, you shifted your focus, and in shifting your focus, you went from lack and scarcity, this is so much, to this kind of flip of, oh wow, it was only $5.80. It wasn't as much as I thought it was. So they were starting to see this shift and this change. Why? Because they chose to shift with me. They were like, okay, you know what? Let's shift. I can shift this. And it's just shifting your focus from what you're looking at. Now, this is not what people may call toxic positivity, because that is something basically where you just kind of plant your head in the sand and you just cover your ears, you cover your eyes, and you're just like, la, 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 la. There's nothing here. No, no, no. We're looking at it, because this is the key when it comes to like shadow work and stuff, is we look at what is rising up. So we have this belief in lack, and we're like, okay, so right now I'm seeing maybe this belief in lack. It's coming up. So I'm seeing it. So that must mean that I'm focusing where? Where must I be focusing if lack's coming up? Well, I must be focusing with my ego, because my ego sees me as just a body, as a finite being with finite resources, and who has to figure everything out. That's how the ego wants us to view ourselves, as very small and having no support except for ourselves, except for the body, or maybe other bodies, being like, well, it's other people's responsibility to take care of me. And so we can notice that. Oh, and this is all it is. It's work in awareness. It's work in your mind. In regards to the gas prices, I love that drive and have the freedom. I can drive, and yes, positive thoughts as well. Right. And that's it. It's just, wow, I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to drive. It's so great that I have the opportunity to walk. It's so great, that I have this. And it's all about our focus. Where do you want to focus? Who do you want to focus with? Do you want to focus with the ego, or do you want to focus with spirit? Do you want to focus on being a small, finite being that is all about pain, suffering, sacrifice, martyrdom, victimhood? Or do you want to focus on the truth of who you are? Abundant, love, joy, eternal, with forever in union with the divine, forever provided for. Which one do you want to focus on? Because you could stay stuck in that egoic view. You can. That's your choice. Because the divine is so loving, so caring, that it says, if that's where you want to be, then that's where you want to be. I can't change your mind for you. I can only invite you to come and change your mind with me. I can show you witnesses to something else, but that's all I can do. I can't do the work for you in consciousness. You have to be willing to say, I want to shift here. I want to shift my awareness. Where do I want to shift my awareness to? And do I want to shift it to gratitude, appreciation? And those are not always easy to shift to when we kind of feel that stuck energy, when we're just like, oh, I'm stuck in this, idea of lack because I'm focused on all the things I don't have or all the things I can't do. Okay, what can you do? What is possible for you? Maybe not even in regards to your situation that you're worried about, but what can you do right now that you appreciate? How can you move into appreciation? How can you move into gratitude? How can you move your focus from what you do not have to what you do? And that's it. And surely that is fabulous that you're able to remind yourself of that gratitude, because that's all that it takes, that shift in your focus, that shift in your mind to say, okay, this is what I was focused on, but guess what? This is a brand new moment. And now I get to focus over here if I so choose. But the key is, how do we keep ourselves in that focus? Like, how do we keep ourselves focused on what's true? And it is simply by that what rises up. So if there's something rising up in you and it's starting to get you out of that gratitude, out of that flow, then we just say, okay, I notice this rising up. We're not going to necessarily identify ourselves with it. We're going to say, I notice this. So I am noticing this feeling of lack coming up, or I'm noticing this feeling of sacrifice coming up, or I'm noticing this feeling of sadness coming up. Like, I'm noticing it. We're not identifying ourselves with it. I notice this thought. Do I want to go and play with it? Like, do I want to go down that darkened corridor? Do I want to start walking down that road? Because let's be honest, we all know where that road's going to lead us because we've walked down it 100 times. But it's just the ego knocking on the door saying, hey, why don't you come focus over here with me? Because I'm noticing that I am losing your attention. I am losing my lifeline, if you will. And so I'm going to do everything in my power and I'm going to start throwing all this stuff at you so you pay attention back over onto me. So you pay attention to the lack, the scarcity, the sacrifice, the so forth and so on. It's not that we practice putting our heads in the sand. We acknowledge it, we see it, and then we choose, is that what I want to focus on? That's not. Okay, great. So what do I want to focus on? I want to focus on that everything is always working out for me. I don't have to know how everything's working out for me, but I know that everything's working out for me. Or if that's something that seems like a little too far-fetched for you, that's okay. Then you just work with what feels good for you in that moment. You take those little bite-sized steps. Moving your focus or teaching yourself to focus is something that we're all learning how to do. As these things rise up, and especially right now, energetically, astrologically, we have this aspect of Pluto, who is the underworld, kind of the ruler of the underworld, coming up and bringing up these shadows. That's okay. It's just showing us where our focus has been. It's just saying like, oh, okay, well, maybe I've been focused on lack. Maybe I've been focused on scarcity. Maybe I've been focused on grief. Maybe I've been focused on sadness. I can see that's where my focus has been. And I can then surrender this. And what is surrender? Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means being willing to take that step back and say, okay, let me not necessarily identify myself as this thing, as this sadness, as this lack, as this scarcity. Let me instead take a step back and only witness that it is an idea in my mind. It's an idea that I am seeing in the world. Like, let's be honest, I'm seeing it. But I'm only seeing it because I'm focused on it. I'm focused on that idea. So I'm going to keep on seeing more and more witnesses to it because I'm more and more focused on it. If I don't want to see it anymore, then I have to be willing to shift my focus. Where do I shift my focus to? We shift our focus to, maybe you can't do a complete 180. That's okay. You don't have to. You just have to do just a little bit at a time. Just a little smidge. So, wow, you know what? And this is something that I like to say, is just something that I picked up on, which is, I am so happy and grateful. So you're adding happy and gratitude. I am so happy and grateful that I have this opportunity to shift my focus right now. I don't know how to shift my focus. I don't really know where to shift my focus to, but I am so happy and grateful to know that I have the ability to shift. And see, something else that a lot of people will say is that they have to use specific words. Words are nothing more than symbols. And the universe doesn't need the symbols to interpret what it is you're trying to do or what you're trying to focus on or what you're trying to manifest or whatever the case may be. All it really requires is your intention. That's all it's looking for. It's like, okay, what is the intention behind what you're trying to do or what your words are trying to express to me? Because our words, they will never really be able to express what we really are trying to express. We can try, but it's never going to do it perfect justice. There have been experiences that I have had in meditation where words cannot describe the beauty, the feelings, the visuals that I saw. There are no words in any language that could possibly do it justice. And so, but once again, it's not about the words, it's about the intention. What is the intention behind what you are trying to verbalize? So don't get hung up on words like I have to say it this way, or I have to say happy and grateful. You can just say, I'm so grateful, or I'm so happy, or it's so joyous, or I am so willing, or whatever the case is. Don't let the words get you caught up. Don't get caught up in the words. They're just symbols. They only have the meaning that you put on them. And if we try to say that maybe someone else has better words or is better at doing it, what are you doing there? Now you're shifting your focus again. And I know this is an interesting way to go, but we're shifting our focus from being connected to our source and being powerful. And we are now focusing our attention and saying that someone else has more power than we do. Someone else is more powerful. Someone else is better, and that's a comparison. So we can right there. Now we can like the words that someone else says, or we can use the words that someone else says, but we don't need to get caught up in the specific words that anyone is speaking. If they help you, great, use them. If they don't, then that's okay too. It's not about the words. It's about the intention. It's about where is your focus going. So this is where we get this beautiful power. Wow, today on my walk, all I kept saying was, I am grateful. Even when it started to rain. What a relief I felt. Exactly. And that's it. It's just, wow. I can be grateful because your intention was, and this is really beautiful, Shirley, that you're bringing that up, because what basically happened was, instead of saying that there must be a particular condition for my happiness, you surrendered. You really practiced that instead. And I love that you did that, because what you did was, instead of going into the ego focus, it's raining, my body's going to get wet, I'm going to be wet, my body's going to be cold, my body's going to be uncomfortable, God, this is so, and going into that focus. Instead, you said, you know what? Okay, let me shift. Let me shift my focus here. What am I shifting my focus to? I'm shifting my focus over to gratitude. I am just grateful that I have the ability to walk. I am grateful that even though it's raining, even though I don't necessarily like the rain, I'm just grateful that I have this opportunity to walk about, to be outside, to enjoy this scenery. You were surrendering the condition and allowing yourself to just be in the moment of gratitude, to just be in the moment without the moment having to meet a particular condition. And there was your focus. What was your focus on? Not out here in the world, even though out here in the world, everyone else would have been like, oh, it's raining, I can't go outside. Life sucks. Life's terrible. You said, no, life doesn't suck. Life's not terrible. It's rain. Okay, it's raining. That's it. It doesn't mean anything. You chose to focus not on what the ego said about the rain, but instead chose to focus on the truth of who you were, chose to focus on gratitude. And that's beautiful. And this is the power of focus. This is the power that each and every one of us has. But like I said, we are much too apt, or as the Course actually says, we are much too apt to let our minds wander. We wander down these darkened corridors because we hear our ego. And, I guess since it's October, we'll kind of use this scenario. So this is kind of what we're doing. So let's say that we're sitting at home and we are watching our favorite show and you are focused on it and you're like, oh my God, this is so great. You're loving the show. Maybe for me, I love my cooking competition shows. So right now it's the Halloween Baking Championship and Outrageous Pumpkins. I love watching the creativity. I love watching these people work. I mean, I just think it's fascinating what they can create out of pumpkin and what they can create out of cakes and how realistic it can look. I think it's amazing. So let's say we're sitting there and we're watching that and we're all enthralled. So where's our focus? Our focus is on joy and excitement. Our focus is on creativity and expression. Our focus is on gratitude and happiness to see others creating something beautiful. And so our focus is on beauty. Well, the ego starts to be like, well, you're not focused on me. So it comes up to the door and it's going to knock. And so we don't really hear the knock at first. We're like, no, I'm going to stay focused on this. This is getting good. Like, wow, I can't believe they're creating a totem pole out of pumpkins. And then it starts to knock a little bit louder. And we kind of look over at the door and we're kind of, it doesn't matter, so we bring our focus back. And then again, now it's banging on the door. It's really trying to get our attention. So we're like, okay, fine. I'll pause it. So we pause it. We get up. We go to the door. We open the door. There's no one there. So we close it. We go back to our show. We press play. We get re-engaged with it. And then here comes that bang, 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 bang again. So what do? We pause it again. We get up. We go to the door. And now, we open the porch light. And we step outside of our door. And we close our door. Because once we start focusing on illusions, lack, scarcity, depravity, martyrdom, scarcity, sacrifice, we've closed the door to truth. We've closed the door to positivity. We've closed the door to focusing with God and joy and creativity and expression and happiness. We've closed our door. And so now we're outside and we're kind of looking around. And now we hear a little voice be like, hey, hey. And so now we step off our porch. We step off our little stoop. The light's still on. Door's still unlocked. It's just closed because, we want to be safe. And so now we start walking towards this hay. And we start going deeper and deeper and deeper into it until we're like, oh my God, I'm lost in this darkness. I'm lost. I'm afraid. I'm scared. All because we chose to leave our focus of creativity, happiness, expression, joy, so forth and so on, to go follow this knock. And so, thank goodness that, the divine is always willing to be like, hey, and lead us back to the door of joy and happiness. And we walk back in, we sit back down, we get comfortable back in our seats. There's even brand new snacks, brand new everything that's sitting there waiting for us. You got a brand new bowl of apple slices and they are just freshly peeled for you. And you are just, sitting there eating them up, having a grand old time, maybe some grapes that are very, when you bite into them, it kind of has that nice crunch. I love those kind of grapes, by the way. They have that nice little crunch to them as you bite into them and the juice just explodes and it's so delicious. And you're just like, oh, this is so great. And you're back on your show and you're watching it and you're eating your fruits or maybe you're eating some cheese. I don't know what you're eating. For me, it would probably just be like a little bowl of fruit and just enjoying it. And so you're eating it. And then again, it's the ego. You know exactly what's going to happen, but yet you still get up because you're curious. Well, maybe this time it'll be different. Like maybe if I go to the door, there'll be someone there this time and I can finally confront them and be like, get off my property, stop knocking on my door. But it's always the same. And it's just because we are so tempted for the fear of missing out or the fear that if we don't focus on it, then that means worse things are going to happen. And all we have to do is focus on the good. I'll even tell you another beautiful thing. So I was sitting there. It was actually this morning. And I was feeling a little bit of this heaviness. And I was like, I'm feeling kind of heavy. And I'm not in a bad mood, but I'm not in a good mood. So I was like, oh, I must be focusing with my ego. Called it out. Was like, okay, so what do I want to focus on? Well, I want to focus on, I was like, for me, I'm always like, God, what would you have me talk about today? It's Wisdom Wednesday. What do you want me to talk about today? And I didn't really hear anything. So I was just walking, me and my dog were just walking through beautiful nature and just, walking around. And, I wasn't focused on, and I started focusing in on the present moment, focusing in on now. And I could almost feel like this little light in my heart, this light in my mind started to light up. And I was just starting to, feel this happiness, feel this heaviness just lifting away because I wasn't focused on the past or I wasn't focused on the future. I was focused on the present moment. And then as I started to focus on that present moment, I was like, you know what? I'm really excited that tonight I get to, talk about a spiritual subject. I don't know what the spiritual subject is yet, but I'm excited that I get to share that. And, I always get so excited. And so what am I starting to focus on? I'm starting to focus on the excitement. I'm starting to focus on the joy. I'm starting to focus on what I love to do and the passion that I feel for it. So it starts to light me up on the inside. So I start focusing more on the divine. And that's where my focus is. So I'm focusing on the divine. I feel a big smile coming on my face, just like, yes. And, I was focusing on, I love to do readings. And I love to do the mentorships. And here's why I love to do them. Because I love to share my knowledge. I love to share guidance. I love to, be a helper in whatever way that I can. I love to share what I have learned that has helped me. So smiling, getting happier, feeling better, focusing in on that moment, just being like, yes. And then we kind of turn the corner and I see this person with their dog walking and, very nice person, looked like a very nice dog. And then all of a sudden, I kind of pulled off to the side. It's kind of a little sidewalk. So I was like, I'll go in the grass. And as I did, their dog starts barking at mine. And of course, my dog starts barking at theirs and the dog, both of them are barking at each other. And in that moment, where could have my focus gone? I could have gone to, well, here we go. Something to misery up my day. And I was just like, no. I'm so happy and grateful that I had the intuitive hit and that I took that intuitive hit to go off in the grass. And I'm so happy and grateful that, this person is able to go in the direction that they're going and continue walking, and I can go in the direction that I'm walking. I am so happy and grateful that both of those people, once again, there's something that I say for myself. You can say it if you wish. I am so happy and grateful that this person and their dog, who are, the beings of light, that the same being of light that I am, that they can go on their way in happiness and in peace, and I can go on my way in happiness and peace. So I had an opportunity to where either I could have focused back on the ego or I could have focused back in on spirit, and I chose to continue to focus on spirit. And if I started to feel myself wavering a little bit, went right to that gratitude, right to what can I focus on right here, right now. And every time I did, it was just like that, a little beacon of light just started to erupt in my heart. And it was almost like, I was telling myself, focus there. That's where you want to focus. Focus on that light that is in your mind. Focus that light that's in your heart. That's where you want to focus. And so that's what I kept on doing. And it was funny because as I was focusing, just on how happy I was to share today, and then I heard, go live at 7, and I was like, perfect, that's what I'll do. I don't know what anything means. Time means nothing to me. So I'm just going to do what Spirit tells me to do. And then, focusing on why I love to do readings, why I love to do mentorships, why I love to come on and do Wisdom Wednesdays. And I get 2 emails. One from a person who I read for back in 2018, like, hey, are you still doing readings? Because I'd love to book one. And then another one who I gave a reading to in 2015, being like, hey, are you still doing readings? Because I'd love to do one. So did I get those because I was focusing on gratitude? No. I got those because I was no longer in resistance. When we choose to focus with the divine will, which is always for our happiness, always for our freedom, that's always what it's for, then here is the beauty. We move out of resistance. We stop telling ourselves the story or focusing on the story of why we cannot have. And we move into, I can have, everything is right there for me. And we just move into that, and it's natural. It's not that you're doing it on purpose. It's not like you're like, okay, it's not that I was focusing on my love of doing readings, my love of doing mentorships, my love of doing Wisdom Wednesday in order to get people to come and book a reading or to book a mentorship or to book a whatever. I was focusing on it because those are things that I genuinely love and I genuinely have passion for. And so I moved out of whatever resistance I may have been in. And that's what allowed that flow to come in. That's what allowed those 2 emails to come and reach me at that specific time. Now, once again, is it because I am favored by the divine? Is it because I do channeling? Is it because I do cards? Is it because... No, it has nothing to do with any of that. It is simply because I chose to focus on what feels good, on what feels happy, on what feels joyful. That is where my focus was. And that is the experience then that I had. Am I saying that it's easy to do that all the time? No. Am I saying that you have to practice toxic positivity and be like, la, 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 there's nothing bad? No. We can acknowledge what arises in our minds and say, okay, if this is rising up, if this is something that is disturbing my peace, it's getting me out of peace, stopping me from focusing on the divine, number one, we can take it as a wonderful sign and symbol that our ego is feeling threatened, which means we are focused primarily, or we're focusing more primarily on love. And that's where our focus is. So that's number one. So if we start to see things coming up, it's actually a great sign that your ego is feeling threatened. So that's number one. Number two, we recognize it. We see it. We don't bury our heads in the sand and say, la, 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 this isn't happening. We can instead engage it, but we engage it with focusing on love. So we see it and we're like, okay, what must I believe in order for this to be happening? Well, I must believe in lack. I must believe in scarcity. I must believe in depravity. I must believe in destruction. Do I want to continue to focus on those things? No, I don't. So then we can say, okay, Spirit, is there an action that you would have me take? Notice, Spirit, is there an action that you would have me take? Not, this is what I should do. Because when we start to get, this is what I should do, okay, now we're getting back into ego mentality and we're stepping back down and we're stepping back into separation. This is what I have to do. I'm in charge. Another great example for today literally happened. We had to go to CVS. My mom had to pick up a medication for herself. And we parked and I see these 2 little children outside in the parking lot. And they just kind of running around. And this was like a 2 and a 3-year-old. And I was like, whoa, what is happening here? So number one, my peace is disturbed because now it looks like these children are in danger. Spirit, my goal is peace. What I'm seeing right now is merely my belief. And I'm doing this all in my mind as I'm just kind of watching. So this is my belief in a lack of safety. This is my belief in lack. This is my belief that people don't care. This is my belief that children can be hurt. This is my belief. What would you have me do? You know, what felt, and even that was just like, what feels the most peaceful? Well, it feels really peaceful for me to go out there and be like, hey, what's going on? So I get out, you know, my mom's going in and I'm like, I'm getting out of the car too, because I got to see what's wrong with these kids. My mom's going over there. Another lady's coming out of her car and everyone's like, do you know who these kids are? And we're like, no. And so, you know, me being the person that I am, I was like, you know, I asked the little 3-year-old, I said, hey, I said, hi, you know, my name is Ron. I said, what's your name? And, you know, the child told me their name and I said, hey, do you know where's mom? Oh, I don't know. I said, you don't know? And she, no, I don't know. I said, well, you know what? I said, is that, you know, because I saw a car door open. I said, is that your car? Yeah, it's my car. I said, oh, can we go see your car? I said, that'd be so great if we could go see your car. And I said, and who's that? Who's your friend? Oh, that's my brother. I said, oh, what's your brother's name? So it tells me brother's name. And I said, you know, hey, I said, we're going to go to the car. You want to go? Let's go see what, you know, come show me your car seat. And so, you know, we go over to the car and the mom comes out. Oh my God, what, you know, and she's panicking. And I'm like, you know, we got it. It's fine. All is well, you know? So again, there was something that disturbed my peace. It was right there in front of my face. I chose to acknowledge this is what I'm seeing. This is what I must believe in order for this to be happening. But I'm still choosing to focus on love. I'm still choosing to focus on peace. I'm still choosing to focus on, you know, spirit and forgiveness. I forgive myself for believing that anyone could ever be in danger. I forgive myself for believing that this person is negligent or whatever. And all that had happened was the mom thought she locked the car. She didn't. The 3-year-old decided, I'm just going to get out because I want to. And then got the little brother out somehow as well. And so that's just what happened. She ran in super quick to get one thing. And that's what happened. Okay, mistakes happen. Things happen. I get it. Okay. So what do? We practice that forgiveness. We practice and we focus instead on love and on joy. This person, of course, thanked me and my mom and the other lady. And then there were even 2 teenagers and an old man, and everyone's coming to the rescue for these children. So there I can see, wow, there are a lot of people that care. Wow, people aren't, out just for themselves. So I was seeing other witnesses other than the witness of, isolation, destruction, death, harm, scarcity, lack, solitude, isolation. I was seeing, wow, there really is a community. And there really are people that care. And there really are people who just want want the best for everyone. Wow. Thank you for showing me this. There's the gratitude. There's, even though, this was not a good situation, but it was a situation that unfolded for what? It was for my benefit. And it was for the benefit of everyone. And I know that probably sounds very narcissistic and very weird, but it was. Life is always unfolding. And it's unfolding for your benefit, because every situation that occurs that does disturb your peace is only showing you the rocks or the places where you're not letting love enter. That's it. So life is always unfolding. And if we can see it as, okay, this is unfolding in order to show me this. Okay, great. It's not that life is trying to punish you. It's not that even life is trying to teach you a lesson. Life is simply unfolding. And it is unfolding just to show you, okay, here's what you're still believing. Here's what you're still seeing this because this is what you must still believe. That's it. And so if we can just go with that, once again, where's our focus going to go to? It's going to be a lot more focused on spirit. Spirit, show me how to see this differently. Show me the truth instead of this. I mean, there's so many different things, so many different words that we can use in order to do that. So that is our live for today, all about the power of focus. And I thank you so much for joining me. I thank you so much for being here. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.